Hey guys, so I know that we've had a bit of radio silence over here at the Obsessive Viewer for the last few weeks after the Oscar nominee showcase episode that we did. Just stuff got, piled up, all of my personal stuff, my dad passing away and all that. Kind of took some time to get through, so I hope that you guys aren't upset that there hasn't been an episode, but we're back. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that sent me a message with their condolences and all that. It meant a lot because it was an especially difficult time recently. Also, I want to just say a little disclaimer that we were supposed to have a post-Oscars and Deadpool review episode go up last week. Unfortunately, the recording had a lot of static in it. I might end up editing it and throwing it on the feed sometime this week or next week, just to have it out there since you guys have gone so long without an episode. But just be forewarned that when that post comes up, it's not going to be very relevant because we go through the Oscars and all that, and it will be damaged audio-wise. Anyway, so this episode is with a friend of mine, Sam, who came on to talk about Fuller House. It's a lot of fun, and I'll let you get to it. But first, I wanted to just say thank you to everyone again who offered their condolences to me, and also everyone that took part in our Oscars nominee episode a few weeks back. Really appreciate you guys submitting our clips, and there's a ton of really great podcasts that submitted this year. So be sure to check them out if you haven't already. Okay, so here is our review of Fuller House with Sam Nelson, first-time guest on the podcast, so enjoy. This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find back episodes at OV156.com, find the blog at ObsessiveViewer.com, and subscribe to the subreddit at r/ObsessiveViewer. Also, you can help support the podcast at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer, and you can also leave us a rating and review on iTunes. That helps us out a ton. So this episode is unique in that my regular co-host Tiny isn't here. He's in Washington, D.C. On vacation. So I've invited on my friend Sam. Sam, do you mind if I say your last name?
You can say my last name.
Okay. Sam Nelson. I was trying to think of that.
Oh, man.
I was trying to think of like a celebrity last name, but then I realized that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sam Nelson, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm excited to be here. And
yes. Long-time listener.
Longish time listener. I mean, at least the last 4 or 5 months.
Right. Yeah.
So
appreciate it.
Yeah. So I know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. We met. When was it we met?
We actually met in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long ago was that? Was it
Oh wait, that was 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah,
4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it was even longer than that.
I think it was 4 years because it was 2012.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I have memories that maybe I shouldn't 100% share right now, but on the in the stratosphere,
yes,
at the top.
Oh yeah, definitely don't share that.
Yeah,
but
we did not go on rides, so we did other things instead.
Right.
Yep.
And it was very drunk.
Yep. But it was a good bonding experience.
It was a lot of fun. Oh, it was
a
great.
Good bonding experience.
Oh,
yeah. I knew that I loved you from that point moving forward.
Oh, well, so. I knew that I enjoyed your company.
Oh.
No, yeah. Anyway, no. So we bonded then, and then we've just been pretty much friends ever since. We've gone to see movies, all that stuff. Absolutely. And you also work in the building I work in.
Yes.
For the time being.
For the time being.
Yes.
Announcements to come.
Right. So I've invited you on. We met through your friendship with Robert Fekkes,
right,
who is frequent co-host, frequent guest on the podcast.
Yeah, I've heard him on a couple episodes, and I was shocked. He's presentable.
Right. Well, I edit it down severely.
Do you?
Yeah. There's a lot of just him just going off on really random. I don't want to say racist tangents,
right,
but it's like
something. Yeah,
it's just really
just overall hateful.
Yeah. Oh, just pure hate. Really is the. Yeah, it's just pure hate, and there's a whole B-roll of just Fecus spouting off his. I'm sorry, just really, really extreme beliefs. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, can't control
them. No, you can't.
Roid rage is a thing.
Right. So for our listeners, Becca's not. No, that's not true. That's a joke.
No, wonderful human being.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, best man at my wedding.
Right.
So there you go.
That's the totally. I didn't even get an invite, but that's cool.
It was. I've been married for like 6 years.
That's true.
Almost 6 years.
I didn't get a retroactive invite. I don't know.
Sorry.
Anyway. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Before we get... So, anyway, the topic for the episode this week is the reason why I've asked Sam onto the podcast with me today. This was originally going to be a bonus episode that was just going to talk about Fuller House Season 1 because... And this is not really a joke at all, but you are a massive, massive Full House fan.
Yes. I would guess that I've seen every episode of the original series upwards of 15 to 20 times.
That is amazing to me.
It's actually really sad. And it's one of those things. Growing up as a kid, WGN was like the Chicago affiliate that always had Full House on. So I think it was from something like 4 to 6. They'd show 4 episodes every day, and they just cycle through from season 1 to season 8, and just go through them. And I would just watch them. I mean, obsessively, again and again and again. I know it had to drive my poor parents up the wall to watch a show because as an adult you watch it and you realize it's something you had to grow up with.
Right.
Otherwise,
right.
Yeah.
And we'll get more in depth with the love of Full House. We'll talk about your tattoos and everything, but it's funny. Just as a brief tangent, I do remember one thing about in Vegas when we first met.
Did we talk about Full House?
No. We didn't talk about Full House, but we talked about. I think were you originally from Evanston?
Around that area.
Yeah. Because you said that, and then in my brain, that immediately made me think of my friend Mike, who is a co-host of the podcast, who's on sabbatical, and he used to live in Evanston, and I basically just asked you if you knew him and if you knew about his band. Thank you, Jade. So yeah.
I thought you were going to connect it with the time that we did all that meth in Vegas because...
Right. Well, all of the blow snorted off of hookers.
Well, I'm a Methany Tanner.
Well, oh God! oh wow! Yes. So we'll get to that also.
Okay.
But okay. So basically, that's the introduction to the episode. Ridiculous. So before we get to the actual topic, we do have one news segment that I wanted to bring up. The second trailer for Captain America: Civil War came out as of this recording yesterday, and. Man, I'm so excited for this movie.
It looks awesome.
It looks so awesome. And it's funny to me because what we have this summer and as of this recording next week, the end of next week is Daredevil Season 2. And then the week after that is Batman v Superman. And then next month is, next month or whenever is Captain America Civil War. So we have these, the previews for Daredevil Season 2 have pitted Daredevil against Punisher, and then there's, of course, Batman v Superman, the historic court case, and then there's Captain America and Iron Man. So it's interesting to see that that's the way that kind of the superhero genre is kind of, even if it's just coincidental, but it's funny that
the conflicts between them. Yeah, and then I think the Civil War trailer looks great. I'm really excited for that. I feel kind of opposite on that as I do about Batman v Superman, where I have just serious concerns about that movie. They're just packing so much into it, and then I'm not buying Lex Luthor at all.
Right.
It's
I was okay with his casting because I really like The Social Network.
Yeah.
But that second or third trailer that came out, where he talks to them at the event gala or whatever.
No.
Just the dialogue did not land. It was so awkward.
It was.
And
his tone of voice, everything about it just didn't work for me.
Oh yeah. And we'll see where it goes, but we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it's going to make a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if the studio will, the executives will think that, obviously they know that, I wonder if they'll be able to understand that that's not going to equal a quality movie.
Right.
But I don't think that that's going to be the case. And who knows? It could be an amazing movie. Who knows? But I'm really, really going to bet that it's not going to be.
Yeah, I would be really surprised if it was anything other than just maybe good.
Right.
It feels like it's really just a setup for Justice League.
Exactly.
And it's really a shame that they're going to take a story like Batman versus Superman and really use it as nothing more than a stepping stone.
Exactly. That's the big problem that I have with it going into it. So we'll see. But the Captain America Civil War trailer is it's really cool. And like a lot of people got super excited because Spider-Man appeared in it. And like that's a huge deal. It's amazing. Right. It's very cool. But like as a fan of the franchise and not necessarily a comic book fan, like I'm super excited to see Spider-Man. But like as a fan of the franchise, I really loved Captain America's callback line where he says, "I could do this all day" to Iron Man. I just thought that was just, I can't wait for that moment in the movie because holy crap. But yeah, it looks amazing. So how excited? What of those three things? What are you most excited for?
I'm probably most excited for Civil War. I think that's probably what I'm most excited for. I actually, confession here, I haven't seen the first season of Daredevil yet.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why it got put in the back burner for me, but it has. I bet when season 2 comes out, I'm probably going to use it as an opportunity to just watch 1 and 2 back to back.
Right.
Kind of did a similar thing with House of Cards early on. So
introduce the kid to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that'd be super appropriate.
Your 18-month-old kid.
Right. Yeah, no, that'll be super appropriate for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. So that's exciting, the Captain America Civil War trailer. So why don't we stop beating around the bush?
Okay.
Why don't we get down to talking about Fuller House?
Sure.
And again, before we do that, let's talk about Full House again.
Yeah, no, I think you have to talk about the 8 seasons that existed before it.
So
lovely as they were.
Pilot episode aired in 1980. I'm not going to go through all of that, but it's my relationship. Obviously, you have a much stronger relationship with Full House, but my relationship to it is that was kind of a good after school kind of throw it on while you're hanging out with friends or so. I don't remember what I did after school every time. Watch TV, really.
Yeah. I sat there and watched Full House.
Yeah, exactly. That was a good, like, kind of TGIF kind of show, too. It was, I absorbed a lot of episodes of it, and I watched a lot in syndication. And, yeah, it doesn't really hold up that well.
No. It doesn't. I've been rewatching the original ones because they're on Nick at Night now.
Okay.
So I've been catching those.
Not because of the DVDs that you own. And
I actually only have the first season.
Really?
Which is probably the crappiest, but it is kind of funny in the way that it's also like the darkest seasons of Full House. Because I swear every episode ends with them talking about how their mom's dead.
Wow.
Which, I don't mean to make that sound as...
Oh, no. That's
I don't know. Maybe
that's
I do. But... every episode gets surprisingly dark at the very end.
Wow.
But it's one of those shows that, like I said, I grew up watching it. If I didn't, and I'd be watching this with fresh eyes right now, I'd probably think, "What is this shitty show?"
Right.
But it's something that you grow. It's like a line in Fuller House where they talk about Uncle Jesse and how he's everybody's uncle. Mm-hmm. And like you watch that show and you like, I can't look at John Stamos and not think he's Uncle Jesse.
Right.
And like if I met him in real life, would I call him Uncle Jesse? I don't know. Maybe I could see myself slipping. But to me, it's like the memories that come up with that show. Like I remember when Jesse and Becky had the twins, and the twins were born, and the Flintstones party, and the spot on Jesse's Fred Flintstone's costume showing where his appendix hurt. See, so if you really want to go down this rabbit hole, Full House trivia has always been a thing for me too. But it's just one of those things. You kind of grew up with the kids.
Sure,
and in my case, you grew up with them every like 5 months because you just watch a show and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your favorite episode from the original series and least favorite episode?
Oh, wow. Favorite episode, I would probably go with... I probably would go with the episode where the twins are born.
Oh, nice.
Because it's one of those just disaster episodes where it's a party for, wow, now I'm blanking on this. I believe it was Michelle's party.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it's all about Michelle because these kids are the most selfish kids you've ever seen in your life.
Absolutely.
Everything revolves around all of them. And it's like Danny has many children.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going off on a tangent already here.
Sure.
But Danny has Michelle,
mm-hmm.
and he has Stephanie, and he has DJ.
Yes.
And then he has Joey. And then half the time he has Jesse.
Right.
Because, I mean, neither one of them have jobs, really.
Right.
I mean, they at one point, one of them's a radio host.
Right.
And then at one point, one of them's a comedian. And then at one point, Jesse has a band.
Mm-hmm.
And but in between these things, I assume they do nothing.
Right. Well, and then they eventually do get together and start making jingles, radio jingles.
They do make radio jingles later, too.
The one thing that I remember most from their storylines in the original series.
Yeah. But to go back, it was that episode where the twins are born. I believe Jesse sings kind of high on medication to his wife while she's giving labor, and then Danny's humming the "We Will Rock You" to Becky, like trying to get her breathing in the right spot when the twins are being born. It's just such a disaster episode. Right. It's great. It almost holds up in the way that you can laugh at it.
Nice.
But yeah, Full House is really, when you look back at it, probably the most dysfunctional show you could really have. It's
right.
I guess in a way, maybe it's every girl's dream that they have, like, oh, my uncle and my dad and his best friend, and they're all showing this affection to me. And it's how many wonderful male role models I have. But the problem is, like, 2 of the 3 are just pieces of shit.
Right.
So
they're not at all.
Yeah, like, your dad's great. He goes to work. He has Wake Up San Francisco. That's wonderful. Well, your dad's best friend is spitting water on cars. And that episode lives in infamy. And to go on another tangent real quick.
Oh, absolutely.
I love the fact that DJ comes down, sees him spitting water on the car.
So what is the deal with? I don't remember this.
Yeah, so this was early on. Everybody's sad about the mom dying.
Right.
Very sad. So Joey's down there
because they won't shut the hell up about it.
Right, I know. Seriously, it's like this affected him. So Joey's down there and he's spitting water on a car, washing it, and so. The impressive thing is he takes a very small glass of water and spits water for a very long time.
Okay.
So that's impressive. How does he keep this up? But he's trying to entertain DJ. He's washing the car and he's spitting water on it and he's making a whole big to-do about it. The thing that you don't really realize until you think about it is he was spitting water on the car long before she came down the stairs. So this was actually just... doing what he normally does, which is spit water onto his car, and then when the kids comes downstairs and he plays it off cool.
Yeah. Oh, that is amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's a podcast called Everywhere You Look that basically goes through Full House episode by episode, and they have a running thing where they posit the theory that Joey Gladstone is mentally disabled.
I buy it.
And that just shines a big light in that theory.
It really does.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and then he kind of has like a coping mechanism with the whole Bullwinkle thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Bullwinkle and split personality thing, probably.
I kind of think so. Yeah. I mean, he really does 3 impressions the whole damn show. It's Bullwinkle, the Joe Pesci, and then Mr. Woodchuck. Oh, and Popeye. Excuse me. There's 4. There's 4. Sorry. Popeye. I forgot how many talents the man has.
Right. The Dave Coulier.
Right. Which we looked him up not that long ago.
We did.
Found out that he's actually a touring comedian, and we're like, what does this guy possibly do? And he had like 4 shows sold out in a row in Canada. So apparently Canadians are really stupid. I don't know what else to say about that.
That is, I agree. Yeah, that's the only explanation.
Sorry,
really.
Canada, I just judged you.
Right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Someone at work just said this is a small tangent, but someone at work said the killer joke today. Do you know how how Canadians figured out the name Canada?
No.
They put a bunch of letters in a hat, and they picked one out and said C-A. Picked another one out N-A. Picked another one out D-A. So Canada.
Wow. I like that. Yeah. Is Dave Coulier Canadian?
That's a good question, actually.
I wonder. That might explain the love of him in Canada. Otherwise, it's really a mystery.
No, he was born in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. Yeah.
Another reason not to like Michigan.
Right.
Thanks, Michigan.
Right. Oh.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing you said is what was my least favorite episode?
If you can pick one, because, I mean...
There's a lot.
The greatest show of all time, really.
Right. There's a lot. I would say my least favorite episode, though, is probably the very last one.
Okay.
And that's where Michelle gets thrown off a horse, I think, and she gets amnesia. And,
spoiler alert for Full House.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just saved you 8 crappy seasons. But, yeah, she gets thrown off a horse, gets amnesia, and it's this, of course, way for the family to rally around her. It's also a big deal that they have both the Olsen twins at the same time, because at one point there's this whole scene where where she's talking to her, I don't know, her like memory, I think it is.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
so they're both talking to each other, so that's a big deal. Apparently they worked their way around child labor laws to do that. Jeez. So, but it just was a very unfulfilling way to end the show. But then again, they pretty much phoned in season 5, 6, 7, 8 anyway, so it really wasn't too much of a surprise, I guess, at that point.
And that's, I want to say that, did the series end with that not being resolved?
No, she got her memory back, and I guess everybody was happy. I don't know. I mean, Danny shouldn't have been happy. He lost, his woman, Vicky, lost her, and, it was technically because she wanted to go to Chicago. It was really because she wanted to get away from this freak show. I mean, how would you feel?
Did it end with them breaking up?
That was, I think, in the last season, like halfway through.
Really?
Yeah, it was because she took a job in Chicago to do weather.
Interesting.
They made a whole joke about the windy city and how it's windy there, so bring a coat. Yeah.
I'll add a laugh track there.
Okay. Yeah. No. But yeah, so anyways, I mean, it always ends up bad for Danny.
Yeah, well,
I mean, this is what you got.
Yeah.
But
so going into, by the way, my favorite episode.
I'll say, yeah. What's your favorite?
Yeah. Well, the one that I have the most memory of is, I don't know, because watching it as a kid, I empathized a lot with the situations there. So there's one episode where DJ and Steph are doing something in Danny's room, and they accidentally put a hole in the wall.
I was just thinking about bringing up this episode.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that has the most memory to me, because I have that stupid song in my head that they sing. I'll here we go. Okay, I'll do it from memory.
Okay.
As much as I can. It's not going to be a lot. It's like, Dad, he's our dad.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can't remember what else. They kind of trail off or something. I don't know. It's this really awkward thing, because they're basically trying to conceal the fact that they've put a hole in the wall.
Right.
And they move everything in his room
like to
cover it
or something.
Yeah. And he does that whole classic TV show thing where he walks in, puts his coat on into air, because his thing's not exactly where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
the wonderful thing about that episode is every episode they learn something, right? There's a lesson, the music comes on, and they
relearn that their mom is dead.
Right. For the first season, they pretty much relearn their mom's dead. But past that, I mean, as the show went on, the lessons got more stretched.
Right.
But in that episode, they didn't learn a lesson. The hole was made in the wall. They moved everything. Danny just figured that, he's off that day, and they got away with it.
That's right.
And it was so un-Full House for them to just completely get away with it. And the girls just figured, that's no guilt for us. We just broke your wall, Dad.
That's
Thanks
why
a lot.
I really want a mashup of Full House and House of Cards. So it's Full House of Cards.
Yeah.
So it's just basically like them doing stuff like that to ascend to. I'm losing track of this, but this is losing steam very quickly. But them conniving their way to an end. And that's a good launching point for it, because they don't have any resolution to that story, I guess.
Yeah, no, they really don't.
I just really wanted to say Full House of Cards.
Yeah,
basically.
No, I like it.
Yeah,
I like the idea.
So, going into Fuller House, we talked about Fuller House in the lead up to it a lot. Basically, anytime we were in contact with one another, it was always, so what's going to happen with Fuller House? What's going to happen? What's, like, we were pitching ideas.
I think you should share an idea or two that you pitched to me.
Oh.
Some of them were pretty good.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot now.
There was one about Joey and a murder.
Yes. Oh, yes. This is on Facebook. I don't remember what exactly it is. Was it that they found out that Joey... I can't remember. Was it that Joey killed their mom?
I think it was that Joey killed their mom, and it was basically that Full House was going to be a detective story of them coming to that conclusion. And then it was going to be, I believe, Joey like cornering the girls at the end to like finish them off. Mm-hmm. But then Jesse was going to come in, shoot them, and then, of course, have mercy.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. There was a whole thread.
It was really involved.
It was very involved.
It was really involved.
I'll have to try to dig that up and post it on the Facebook page or something.
Yeah, it ended with Joey dying, which was, basically what I wanted.
That's what the crowd is clamoring for.
Yeah,
really.
Spoiler alert: Joey does not die in Fuller House.
Right. Did you see those two videos I sent you? One was the detective show. Sketch.
Yes.
It was called Fuller House Nights.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just the three guys. They basically it's like basically what they do at night is solve crimes.
Right.
And it was. What did you think of that?
I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. It was really an extension of just of who they are. I mean, obviously, in the show.
Right.
Yeah, because any of them could do anything involved with solving a crime. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the John Stamos reads mean or negative reviews of Fuller House. And I want to commend John Stamos for this because that clip, he has such a charisma to him.
He does.
I love that he kept saying no, say their names, say the names of the reviewers.
Yeah.
And he was just taking it, not even really taking it in stride. He was just putting forth this energy that he was just having a blast with it. Yeah. And it was just so enjoyable to watch.
Well, too, I don't think they did Fuller House and thought, everybody's going to love this. Nobody's going to make fun of Fuller House, I think they knew what it was going to, there was going to be that reaction.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Fuller House. So what were your actual expectations going into Fuller House? What did you want to see from the show?
And I think here one of the things about me actually enjoying Fuller House is that my expectations were so low.
Right.
I figured this was going to be basically just about the worst thing imaginable.
Right.
That they were going to take a show that was already struggling by the end of it and just try to reboot it. And just make it kind of your typical sitcom, add in a laugh track, make it horrible. And I'm not going to pretend Fuller House was this magnificent thing.
Right.
But I honestly don't understand how people disliked it so much. I don't know what they were expecting.
I don't know how either, honestly, because one of my favorite podcasts is the Slash Filmcast, and they were talking about it as saying that they could only watch the first episode and that it was like the worst thing they've ever seen.
I don't get that at all.
I don't either. It's Fuller House. What I went in expecting from it was that it would be a kind of fun, nostalgic show that I could have kind of playing in the background and not focus too much attention on, and it would be just enjoyable.
Right.
And I mean, it met my expectations pretty quickly and sustained them.
Yeah, especially that first episode.
Yeah.
I thought that first episode was so strong, actually, because it was exactly what you wanted. It was that nostalgia kick.
And I love the title even was our very first show again.
Yes.
A callback to the pilot of Full House.
Yeah, and I thought it was so cool, that opening scene, actually, where they had where it was the pieces of the intro, but in full HD.
Right.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
It did take me a minute to do the math for 29 years later.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, wait, that would mean they're how old? But I think they meant 29 years from the very beginning of the show.
Yeah.
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 That is the kind of thought process that they would put into Full House.
Right.
Yeah, they'd be like, well, obviously it meant from the beginning.
Well, yeah. Duh.
Why would you mean 29 years later from when the show ended? Like everybody would naturally assume. But it was, I think it was everything that I was kind of hoping it would be in that first episode, where it reintroduced all the cast members. Everybody was there. As John Stamos said, everybody looked good. And really did.
They did. And they kept talking about that throughout the whole season.
Oh, they did.
Saying like, oh, we look really good.
Yeah. And I would say if there's one cast member that maybe didn't look as good, it would probably be Bob Saget.
I thought so too.
Looked older.
But, he looked a little...
Yeah.
little up there.
Yeah, but you know what? He didn't look as good, and he didn't really put in any effort, so it kind of really matched. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah. That was my favorite thing about that first episode was everybody kind of fell back in their role pretty well,
right?
Especially Kimmy.
Yeah,
Andrea Barber, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, she really fell back in her role quickly and really embraced it. Bob Saget he didn't care at all.
He seemed very stiff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He really didn't care. You almost wonder why he bothered to come back and do it at all. But
and I think the parts of the show that really showcased that or his low energy were the scenes with him and Kimmy, because they he had to do this, go back to the whole shtick of this kind of forced disdain or whatever.
Right.
Like, Kimmy, what are you doing here? And it's just like that he never met that emotional level. Yeah, and they didn't talk about his dead wife either. So
no, they didn't. They introduced a new
wife. Yeah,
which I love that they introduced her, showed her for 5 seconds, and was like, and that's it,
and she's done. Yep. Yeah, she's not.
This was such an integral part of the original series of Danny dating different women, of the whole Vicky storyline, of her going away, of his wife that passed away, and then it was like, 8 seasons later, here's his wife. Now don't worry about it.
And they even they announced this casting decision early on in the process too. I was under the impression that it was going to be, she was going to be more involved with the show.
You think?
But that's another thing, is that I was kind of I didn't pay too close attention to the marketing and everything too much, but there was a moment, and I think that first episode where they were all like, well, we're gonna stay here and we're gonna help you raise the kids just like we did before.
Right.
And I actually really liked that they were like, they're like, no, you already did that. Go do your thing. We've got this and everything. Because it was a nice passing of the torch kind of thing. Look at me getting teary-eyed. Not really. I was scratching my eye. Anyway. But yeah, and I liked that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought for a second, are they going to have them stay? Are they going to be big, the main cast?
Right.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I feel like they needed DJ, Steph, and Kimmy to kind of really take hold of the show.
I agree. I think there was a stretch of episodes somewhere in maybe it was the 4, 5, 6 range where they had none of the other original cast members show up. I thought that got a little bit rough. I enjoyed when it was just Jesse would come in for maybe 5, 7 minutes, and then you had Joey for an episode, or that kind of kept it feeling different and kind of gave you a little something extra in each episode. One thing you touched on earlier, though, and you mentioned kind of the self-awareness of the show, to mention, that you've already done this, you've already raised us, now it's our now it's our turn to pitch in. That show was just full of these moments of self-awareness.
Yes,
and it was
the meta
shocking.
humor was. It was almost jarring, but I dug it. I was into it, because it had this kind of winky factor thing to it. Like the scene in the first episode where they mention Michelle and saying what was it? They said she's in New York managing
she couldn't
her.
be here.
Yeah, I think they said that she's managing her fashion empire or something, and they just stare at the camera for a solid 4 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is what the show is going to be. This is very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a scene later where, I don't know if I really want to give this away, but they name check the Olsen twins, and it's it's a throwaway line that just cracked me up.
Yeah,
it was, something about I just really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say, oh wow, this is amazing writing and how clever this is.
Oh yeah,
but compared to the original show,
right?
It was surprising that there was this kind of meta humor that was throughout the episodes and really never left, even through the end.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think was the strongest piece of Fuller House for you, or the strongest cast member?
Oh, the strongest cast member. I kind of liked Steph. But I think part of that is that I'm kind of just by default rooting for Jodie Sweetin.
Yeah.
Because I know that she has a history, and it was also kind of it kind of made me a little uncomfortable when they were talking about like, oh, Steph has this whole like past where she's a party animal and all that. And like,
it didn't relate to the original character at all.
It didn't. And it was fun.
It wasn't a natural extension.
I kind of got a chuckle out of the whole DJ Tanner thing, that she's a DJ and her name is DJ Tanner. I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah, I saw what they did there.
But did you? Because they really hammered it. Hammered it in our faces.
Yeah. Very subtle.
Right. But there was something kind of just that kind of bugged me throughout it whenever they reference like, oh yeah, I know this person from my partying days. I'm like,
yeah.
Jodie Sweetin was like heavily into drug. Like she almost she damn near lost her life, and it's a miracle that it's commendable that she was able to pull herself out of that situation and get clean and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it ruined a marriage for her, ruined a family. I mean, I was a little bit surprised. If they gave that background to somebody else, okay, but it did seem a little bit. It didn't feel like it was purposeful kind of meta humor. It felt like it was it's strange.
It's not like they ever said like, oh, this is my friend who I used to, snort coke with and everything. It was like, oh, we used to hang out together when we were partying and stuff like that. But it's also like there's in a show that has so many like bits and pieces of meta humor like thrown in where it's almost self-aware. You kind of have to you kind of by default make that connection, and it felt a little weird. But having said that, I did like her arc in that she kind of realized that they didn't really give her a solid romantic interest or anything except for the baseball player, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But which we can talk about that episode later. But but to see, but I liked the idea of her wanting, like, realizing that she wanted a like stable relationship and stuff. I thought that was a nice, like, as well done as that show could allow it to be, given the context of the show.
I agree. They gave her, and again, I won't go into spoilers here because you just don't want to spoil something like Fuller House.
Oh no.
But at the end of maybe episode like 5 or 6, they threw in a curveball for her that she admitted to DJ that she had a problem.
Oh yes,
and it was a very, not a joking matter. It was a really serious problem that women face. And they threw it in there as just such an aside for like a random, oh, you should feel for Stephanie's character, and then never mentioned it again.
Absolutely.
Which is in the truest spirit of Full House.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's the second episode, Jesse comes in and he says something like, he talks about how whenever they talk about serious stuff or whatever, they like he makes the joke, or he says that I can always kind of feel like I hear violins here and everything. Yeah. And like him doing that kind of made any scene of heart or of any kind of heartfelt scene kind of be a little bit, flat. Yeah. 'Cause it kind of it put in my head like that thought that they're being funny, but I don't know.
Yeah, they really didn't have scenes like that, and it was interesting because the Tanner curse was still in full effect. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that another person that marries a Tanner and dies,
right?
Because that's what happens when you marry a Tanner,
right?
But seriously, they built on that on I think a single episode, and it was very throwaway.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit strange that they didn't have more serious moments.
Yeah, I don't even know how he died. I don't remember.
Fighting a fire.
That's right. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was, I guess that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
I did like, there's an episode that calls that to attention where one of the kids learns that he shouldn't lie or something. Although
those kids were so forgettable.
They were. Really were.
I mean, it's taken us this long to even discuss that there was children.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we mentioned Joey, but
but a ching.
Yeah. But the kid, and again that episode refreshed my memory because I don't remember if he really learned a valuable lesson.
No,
he
learned that if you lie, but you're connected, you'll be able to make your lie true.
Right.
Yeah. There was no music at any point in the show too. Yeah, when they learned lessons. That's why nobody learned anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no music.
They did have a pretty killer New Kids on the Block dance scene in the first episode.
Yeah, that was brutal.
That was really bad. Like, it was bad enough that they started dancing, like the girl started dancing.
Yeah.
And then it panned over to Danny, Joey, and Jesse dancing very awkwardly.
Oh, yeah.
It was,
It was just one of the many ways that they brought in Stephanie being a DJ.
Right.
That was like an excuse for them to have a dance scene like every third episode, which thanks for that.
So what did you think of DJ? Who was your favorite character, basically, of the whole season?
Yeah, I think, and this is such a cop-out answer in a way, but my favorite character was Steve.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think if I was to actually say who in this show, outside of maybe John Stamos, who has actual talent, I would have said it was probably Steve.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, he's actually the voice of Aladdin in those Disney
I didn't
movies.
know that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Steve's made bank. But he actually had comedic timing. I'm thinking about a scene where there's a love triangle of sorts that builds.
Yeah.
And he was trying to kind of interject himself into the other side of that relationship.
Right.
And he actually had really, again, good comedic timing. He actually made me laugh a couple times, and the lines were horrible. But just the way he was able to portray himself, I thought he actually was really good.
Right. He seemed slightly... It was an interesting thing because he kind of seemed self-aware. Like he knew the show that he was in, but not in a wink at the camera kind of way. Like he really grounded his performance in the material of the show instead of the kind of like fun nostalgia trip. It was like he seemed like the most grounded character in that world.
Yeah,
and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, you actually just complimented an actor pretty well for a Full House.
I did. Well, we haven't talked about the kids yet. Let's go ahead and talk about the kids. 'Cause,
let's get that over with.
Yeah, I don't even remember the dynamic
there
of the
was
show.
One named Max.
That's right.
Was that the middle one?
I think so. And he irritated me early
Really?
on.
He was the only one I liked.
Well, I grew to like him because he's the only one that they really wrote for
He
that
had a personality.
much. Yeah. Like the older kid was just kind of just a like bland, like what, however old.
Oh,
like
you mean
14?
J Money?
Oh, God.
He called himself J Money one more
way
time.
Too many times. Like, okay.
They thought that was real clever too.
Yep,
They did. Yeah.
The I won't give away what happens, but the credit card thing with the baseball jersey thing.
Yeah.
Does that get resolved? Because I think...
Oh yeah, it does.
Okay,
it does.
Because I think
there's
a
payback.
Okay.
Method, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't sure. That was one of the things that I was kind of having on the background. When I was
was very flippant though.
Okay. Because I kind of wondered about that. I was like, wait, I think it must have blinked and I missed it, kind of thing. But yeah, J Money, I just didn't like. I kind of liked the idea of him. What was it? He was trying to get the girl's friends.
Right.
And I kind of liked that because that's a charming kind of thing.
Sure.
And it's a deep well to pull from. But he was just so bland, and Max kind of really elevated the show for me in the later episodes.
I agree. And Kimmy's daughter, again, I can't even think of what her name was.
Her name was Ramona. So, oh my God, I just remembered. Okay, we'll talk about this in a minute, but
okay.
So Ramona, I kind of liked that dynamic because in the original show you had basically the three dads, or the three father figures and three kids, and this introduces a whole new another kid into the mix that's not a part of the family,
right?
In Kimmy's daughter, and I thought that was a nice kind of way.
Different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. So what did you think of Ramona?
Again, I thought she was fine, but it was kind of, I guess the one thing that was kind of interesting is she wasn't necessarily like a daughter of a Gibbler.
Right.
I kind of expected her to be way more eccentric and strange, and instead
that would have been the worst.
It would have been, and I'm kind of glad they didn't do that, but at the same time they made her just kind of typical preteen girl, and they really didn't do much with it. And that's kind of the problem with the kids. And in the original show, the kids were, if not the stars, at least equal.
Right.
In this show, and maybe it was because they realized people were watching this for nostalgia reasons,
exactly.
The kids were just there for plot devices for the adults. I think we're also forgetting the littlest one, Tommy, the baby.
Okay.
So let me tell you about my notes on Tommy. I took notes when I watched Fuller House.
I'm so excited.
And so for episode 1, my only note on Tommy is baby is distractingly ugly. That's all I had. That baby is so ugly.
Where is so mean.
I'm sorry. You're casting a baby, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you're casting a baby, I guess you're looking for a baby that's good-natured, that plays along with the cast members.
And that there's 2 of them.
Yeah, there's 2 of them, and there was, right?
Yeah, right.
But then the other thing you're looking for is that the baby's not ugly as and
yeah,
they failed on that account.
They did. I'm looking up pictures of him now because
Yeah, he's super ugly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's not very photogenic.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think my cat's cuter.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I kind of wondered at one point, I'm like, so when did Joey have sex with DJ?
Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
Because that's the kind of ugly baby that Joey would have.
Oh. And that's another he doesn't even look like he belongs in that family, really. Like, he doesn't look like...
Oh, that picture makes him look very good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. For reference, Matt just showed me a picture of Tommy that did not look like the kid.
But he still looks like he has no idea what the hell's going on.
Well, no, but that's a staple of the children at Full House. Right. Actually, here's something for you. In the original Full House, this will drive you nuts now.
Okay.
Every scene with Michelle, at least in the first 4 or 5 seasons... You'll notice that they always will cut the camera, and the camera will be straight on her. And that's because there's a trainer on the other side. So any speaking line she has for the first, again, like 4 seasons, it's a straight cut camera on her, and then they'll cut away. It is so distracting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really wish they would have put it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like the original series.
It's got to be coming. Well, maybe not, actually, at this point.
I don't know either. I was telling my brother earlier today that basically... in the like when Seinfeld was bought by Hulu, and granted, Seinfeld and like Friends and like the '90s sitcoms that are making their way to streaming services now, like they were a lot
all on
bigger.
The exact same page as Full House,
right? Exactly.
Right.
They're both the most groundbreaking sitcoms of their time, much like Full House.
Yeah.
Full House, groundbreaking house. Anyway, there's a joke there somewhere.
Sure.
I'll have to make sure that when I edit this, I just say cut it out to that part. I had to get one in. But
I've been saving them.
Right. So anyway, the price to get the streaming rights for like Seinfeld was astronomical.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it was something like $500,000 per episode.
Really?
Like something ridiculous like that.
Wow.
So
hard to believe it's worth it.
Right.
Because, Seinfeld, for instance, been shown on TBS for free.
Right.
All the time. So, are really that many people? How many people actually picked up, just for Seinfeld?
I don't know. Well, I know that, it had to have a
must
surge.
have been a decent amount. But yeah, interesting.
Plus, they had, like, ad revenues, or ad stuff. Hulu paid for the entire series of, Seinfeld for $160 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know how much that factors in per episode, but
unbelievable.
It's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
For all 180 episodes, it's $160 million. So nearly $1 million per episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't have to pay that much for Full House.
Right. I'm kind of wondering what the holdout is with that, because you would think they would be eager to get it. And seeing that Netflix has the next original series of Full House is, you would think they would put it on there, but I don't know.
You think so?
Yeah, but that was a tangent. So anyway, Ugly Baby.
Yeah. So, and I have some notes here on some other episodes. I only have notes up to episode 6.
Right.
And the reason was, and I guess we'll get to this, but episode 6 was an absolute train wreck.
Right.
And I stopped taking notes after that because I thought maybe I was going to stop watching it. Got better. But, so an episode...
Wait, you actually thought for a second that you would stop watching it completely?
Episode 6 was that bad.
Wow.
It was that bad.
I just tuned it out, really.
Oh.
As soon as we'll get to it. But
yeah,
anyway.
we'll get to it.
Yeah, continue with your notes.
So episode 2 bugged me. Badly.
Okay.
I don't know why I emphasize bugs so much,
right.
but it bugged me badly. The reason why is they messed up the attic.
Did they?
Yeah. So they made a reference to the attic setup in Nikki and Alex's room, and they put Nikki and Alex's room on the wrong side of the attic.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I never noticed that.
Yeah, they messed it up really bad. I forgot exactly how it was introduced, but they basically kind of hinted that Nikki and Alex's room was on one side, and it was on the other side. And I thought, for a show with so many callbacks, maybe remember the set design. So that bothered me, but that's because I'm weird.
Right. Well, maybe if they had the series on Netflix, they could have seen it and noticed.
Right.
What did you think of Nikki and Alex coming back for like that 2 scenes that they were in or whatever?
Yeah. I thought I think it's great that they got as many cast members of the original show as they could.
Yeah.
I did love that the kids ended up being just as big of a failure as their dad. I love that they was like, well, he had clueless kids because he's still a clueless adult.
Right.
I mean, his only accomplishment is doing a cover of a Beach Boy song.
That's right.
So he sang it, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't lie. I think my wife started talking over it at one point a little bit. And I definitely was not happy about that. The other thing is the other cast members started singing along.
That's right.
Yeah, I told them to shut up audibly. Because I wanted to hear John Stamos sing it.
Oh, wow.
So that was a beautiful thing. But that's the only thing he's known for.
Yeah.
And I like that they kind of put a callback on that. So here's the thing. And Full House was always a family show. It was episode 3 of Fuller House. And without giving away too much, that was the episode where I'm like, what is the purpose of the show? Who's the audience?
Right.
Because you had a lot of kind of gayish dancing, kissing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, hey, great.
Totally.
But it was a little bit kind of like, who's watching this? And then I noticed that Stephanie's dress
I
highlighted her manufactured assets quite highly.
I don't know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I didn't notice anything.
But without sounding strange about it, it was just to the point of like, if this is a family show,
they were accentuating.
You're putting her in some really strange things.
Yeah, it was definitely, and I like that they did call attention to that.
Yeah.
Later on, but it's also like, it was a very bizarre, weird thing.
Weird.
And especially for a show that's geared toward nostalgia, it's like you're gonna have like, I think to that clip from Community where Troy Barnes just says, "I have the weirdest boner," because that's got to be weird. But no, I did notice that, and it was interesting, and magical, but interesting.
I have one other note that I wrote on episode 3 that I want to share, and I guess it's slightly spoilerish.
I was going to bring this up. I think that this is the one.
Yeah. So I guess if you're sensitive to Full House spoilers, here's your chance.
Then again, I mean, by this point, I think everyone's seen it. It's an international hit, so I think we're safe.
I think so too. Or at this point, I've completely destroyed your podcast, and everybody's out. But there was a former Grammy winner that showed up in this really crappy club to sing, and my only note is, holy shit, Macy Gray's career. And actually, at one point she said, "What am I doing here? I have a Grammy."
Right.
So again, it was that meta joke that was really great, but at the same time, it was like, it was kind of sad of like, she realized, I'm on Full House, this is the worst thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My career is officially in the toilet.
That's depressing on so many levels.
Yeah.
And it kind of okay, so I don't think it was that same episode, or it might have been that same episode. There were 2 people, like the 2 brothers, that were dancing with DJ and Kimmy, I think. And I didn't, like, were they people we should have known?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I don't know, but I looked them up and I couldn't see anything. But it seemed like they, like, as soon as they were on screen, like the studio audience like went crazy.
Yeah.
Which, do you know if this was recorded?
Oh, here's who they were.
Okay.
Yes, I think it actually was.
I heard
or at least
that
the
it
first
was.
episode was.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, and my wife told me this. I had no idea.
Sure.
Apparently, I have no idea about things like this. But Apparently, DJ was on Dancing with the Stars, and that was the person that was on Dancing with the Stars with her.
Gotcha.
So
okay,
yeah. So I guess that was why people cared. I had no idea.
That kind of made me feel a little bit nostalgic for Full House, and because back in Full House days, they made a point to anytime, like, the only celebrity cameos of any kind that I remember from Full House is just a constant episodes built around the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Which the Beach Boys are mega famous, huge, and everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
They were all the Brian Wilson-less Beach Boys, though, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So I kind of felt like when looking back on Full House, I'm like, like, there's an episode where DJ is, like, so excited to get tickets to the Beach Boys. I'm like, at that time, at that age, is this really, or is it just, like, John Stamos' buddies with them?
Exactly. So do you know?
No.
John Stamos is buddies with them.
Is he? I thought so.
So John Stamos was actually a backup guitarist for the Beach Boys.
Really?
Yeah, and actually, I think I read maybe like a month or two ago, he actually performed with them on like a couple tour dates.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why.
Okay.
That's why they're always pimping the Beach Boys.
Okay.
Yeah, because it didn't really make sense at
didn't.
that point in the 90s that they'd be that excited about Beach Boy tickets.
Yeah, because I was...
they wouldn't care.
Yeah, I was of an age where I knew like what was culturally relevant and everything. I was like...
Right.
In that age range, I don't think they would really be listening to the Beach Boys or be that into the Beach Boys.
Right.
But they had like an entire episode. I think there was a Hawaii set episode.
Yes.
With the Beach Boys.
Where they were stranded on an island and then they're like, oh, it's a Beach Boy concert on the other side. Like,
oh, I didn't know the specifics.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like as good as an episode of Lost. Basically.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like Lost.
Do you see my big box set there? It's the Blu-rays.
You should just watch that Full House episode a bunch of times instead of watching that show.
So thanks for being on the podcast, Sam.
All right.
Good luck at your new job.
Right. So, we're gonna. I guess we're gonna go through this pretty slowly here. So I guess this is gonna be a long walk.
It is.
Okay.
We can power through it,
okay.
Or we can go at your pace. You're the one with the notes.
Right. It's my show after all.
Right. Wait, Fuller House or the Obsessive Viewer?
I don't know. So episode 4. Episode 4, again, it was one of these, who is this show for? Because there was a joke that I think Jay Money said, where he said he was up all night erupting his volcano.
That's right.
Now, he did not mean it in a sexual way, but Stephanie reacted and goes, oh, ew. And it's like, well... it could have been a little joke that if you happen to catch on to it, good enough. If not, okay. But they definitely called attention to it pretty strongly.
Yeah. And they never had that kind of innuendo in the original series, did they?
In the very, very first season,
where
Jesse was kind of a little bit off the rails, and he was being introduced to that life, and he's coming from his, rock star life, if that's what he actually did before that. There were some moments where you kind of got the impression that he was living the single life and Danny was trying to hide it, but it was never that blatant.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty
And it
strong.
didn't involve the kids.
Yeah, no. So in episode 5, if you remember, there's a whole big scene with DJ and a plumber who...
Yes.
Yeah.
And that... Okay, aside from the weird identity crisis of tone in that scene and in the season as a whole, I got kind of a kick out of that. I thought the humor landed for me.
It was well done.
Oh,
yeah. And I guess without saying too much, it was kind of a scene where they were misunderstanding each other and the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm. But with, it was overt sexual innuendo.
Right.
So that
was kind of a fun thing. And then they had a moment, and I'm curious if you either associated this the same way or caught this, but Stephanie had the Uncle Jesse to the cabin moment. So in the original series, Uncle Jesse can't stand having this family, can't stand all the stress, and he runs out to the cabin to go sing some song. I think it was Bad to the Bone. He sings in a cab with some friends because that's how Uncle Jesse deals with stress. Yeah.
I've never wanted that show on Netflix more.
I know. Like, some people would go have a drink, and then there's Uncle Jesse. It's like, I'm going to go with my friends and sing Bad to the Bone in a cabin.
Right.
But anyways, Stephanie had that run to the cabin moment where she went back to DJing. She went back with her friends.
Yes.
And, she decides family's more important.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that Uncle Jesse moment that I kind of appreciated. It was like a callback to the original series.
Sure.
Or maybe I'm giving them way too much credit.
I think you're giving them the slightly more credit than they probably deserve overall. But I think that was probably intentional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't really. I mean, I didn't mind it or anything, but yeah. So what's next?
The last episode that I wrote notes on was episode 6.
And do you want to give context for these notes, like why you stopped doing notes? Because you were drinking like a beer an episode.
Yeah. So for about episode 1 through 4, I was very much enjoying myself. So I was having about a beer an episode. So my notes. There's some things I'm not going to read on my notes because they really just don't have a place. But anyway, so the episodes 5 and 6 actually began the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 6 was a point where I almost thought I was maybe going to stop watching the show.
Yeah.
It was a episode where they took the kids to a Mexican wrestling or lucha libre wrestling event. And so I'm somebody that actually like followed WWE pretty closely as a kid and still watches like occasionally today.
Sure.
I mean, it made you wonder if anybody even bothered to even see slightly what may or may not occur in a wrestling ring. I mean, they were having like high school kids come up and dance, and it was just bizarre.
That's right. A whole B plot of that episode was that they had something like, what was it? Like Kimmy was. Or no, someone had or Kimmy's daughter's like dance troupe or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because that's weird on multiple levels.
Yeah. So my notes on that episode is Mexican wrestling was the worst, and Becky episode is brutal.
Right.
Because they had a person a lot of times come back for an episode and kind of be like the old tie back to the original series.
Yeah. Every time they did that, and every time they came in and the like quote unquote studio audience cheered, I cheered just as much.
Yeah.
And it scared the crap out of my cat. So
should probably wonder about your mental health.
Oh yeah. Well, Anyway, so Becky had an entire running gag where she was like super baby crazy.
Yeah.
And it was like she was like super horned up.
Yeah, and it was weird because, again, that didn't really attach to her original character in the show.
Right.
It was strange. I really found myself not liking Becky at all in this new series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was probably my least favorite original person to return.
Wow. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a shame.
Yeah.
The Mexican wrestling thing, the lucha libre thing, that was like, it struggled to keep my attention throughout it. And like when they did, like there was a switch in the characters that really just lost me completely. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to run out the clock because this is just god awful, really. Yeah.
The other thing I thought was so interesting is they managed to get a baseball player that was a pretty big deal.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't follow the baseball.
Yeah, and I guess I don't want to spoil who it is, maybe.
Right, no.
But I mean, he is a champion.
Okay.
I mean, he has kind of an internet video that's kind of gone viral. I mean, he's somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They really couldn't have gotten anybody from the WWE to show up and make a cameo.
Right.
They had to have all these like completely horrible, just guys that couldn't even pretend to wrestle that were no name. I mean, you could have. I bet you John Cena would have done it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
that would have been amazing. Actually,
see, that's what I thought. They could have had some fun with it, and instead, it was just brutal. The only redeeming part of that episode was when, and I don't mean that DJ got in the ring and it was a great idea, but she actually clearly did her own stunts.
Oh, yeah.
And that was actually kind of impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't make up for the fact that the other 29 minutes were just made me want to kill myself.
Right.
So
let's talk a little bit about DJ.
Yeah.
And her arc throughout the season. Because, obviously she's probably the most focused character of the original kids. She has the whole backstory. She has everything. She's like the linchpin for the entire concept of the show. And she has this whole arc where she works at an animal clinic. She kind of has this romantic triangle going on, and I kind of liked it. Yeah. I thought it was okay.
I did too. I actually thought the actor they had to play the other vet that was her love interest besides Steve was actually, again, surprisingly strong.
Right.
Like, he actually was a decent actor. He played the role well. It made me actually at I don't want to give anything away, but again, when there was a decision point to be made, it actually had me far more invested than I ever would have thought.
Nice. And Steve, we already touched on. He was great.
Yeah.
I thought that the love triangle aspect of it, especially in that the baseball episode, basically, they kind of get into a situation where DJ talks to Steve, and it's like such a contrived, circumstance that they bring up that it's like an easily solvable thing that no one does anything to try to solve it, just to create conflict, and that bothered me.
Yeah.
But I did get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that they actually filmed at a baseball game. That was kind of neat, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I guess Netflix thought they might as well spend a couple bucks on it because that show had to be incredibly cheap to make.
Yeah. Yep. And also another. I mean, this might be a stretch, but season 2 of House of Cards involved. There was one episode that involved a baseball game, so maybe there's a connection. Fuller House of Cards.
Right.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's so dumb. Anyway. So let's kind of, I guess, wind down a little bit.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on Fuller House season 1 overall? Like, what's your anticipation for season 2? What do you want to see in season 2? Because it has been renewed.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. Right. I think in terms of my thoughts on season 1, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I thought it was. You had the kind of emotional connection to it, the nostalgia, but they were able to take it further than that. Right. Where I actually am kind of curious, okay, what are they going to do with it from here? I actually was kind of invested and reinvested in Stephanie and DJ and Kimmy. I couldn't give a crap less what happens to these kids.
Right.
But I'm excited again, too, assuming that they come back to see more Danny and more Jesse. And I guess my biggest fear for season 2 is that they're going to try to just do a nostalgia kick season 2.
Yeah.
That might not work so well, or that the original cast won't come back in the effect that they did this time, that you won't have Bob Saget come back.
Dave Coulier is...
Yeah, he's so busy.
He's so busy.
My prediction for season 2 is that they are going to get an Olsen twin in some form or fashion.
I think so, too. At some point, they're going to call attention to it, or one of them is going to be on screen.
Yeah.
And there will be a reckoning.
Yeah, I think it could just be a FaceTime thing where they could, film an appearance. They don't have to show up, but I would be really surprised if now that it kind of has taken off a little bit and they got to see what it is, that there won't be some involvement.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think that will at least be an interesting angle to play, because they can't, if they keep doing what they did this season, it could tire out really easily. And I would like to see them develop the kids more, and do more with the kids, and actually do more of actual parenting in the show.
Yeah.
That'll be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, they did a lot of the old kids are inconvenient right now, so we're just going to act like they don't exist. Write them off. Yeah, a lot of that.
Also, what did you think of Kimmy's ex-husband? That's a whole storyline. I thought that was a thing. I thought it was...
Yeah, he was such a caricature.
He was. He really was.
In a way, he was sort of endearing. Like, there was a scene with him interacting with Uncle Jesse that worked surprisingly well.
Like, are you talking about in the first or second episode?
It was actually later on when they're renewing vows and they're combining.
Gotcha.
And it worked surprisingly well.
There was a scene...
He could wear on you, though.
Going back to our discussion of the tone of the show, like they name-checked the Kama Sutra in the first episode.
Yeah, they did.
About Kimmy.
Yep.
And that was such a weird thing.
Yeah.
Weird.
I would say there was a sex joke or reference in at least every other episode.
Probably.
But probably more often than that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Volcanoes erupting everywhere.
Right.
So my overall thoughts on the season was I enjoyed it. I shamelessly enjoyed it. I caught a lot of flack from some friends of mine who they just immediately thought like, oh, it's going to be horrible. Why are you watching it? That's such a waste of time. I'm like, I can't explain it. I'm enjoying myself watching the show, and it's not that terrible.
It was. I don't understand people that just hated it.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were looking for.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I think that the writers of Fuller House definitely went and they did it Gibbler style.
It did it Gibbler style.
Yeah. Good God. Okay, this review is over. Yeah. So, and looking forward to season 2, I think that everything you said I echo pretty clearly. I would like to see an Olsen twin, but I'd also like to see them develop the kids more. So, we'll see. So that's Fuller House. It's on Netflix. And before we get on to Potpourri, friends of the show, Michael Goldberg and Dave Chan, they are crowdfunding for their first feature film, Surefire. You can find information about that at surefiremovie.com. Couple of great guys. We had them on the podcast shortly before Sharktober in Irvington, and we're going to have them on the podcast again to talk about their crowdfunding campaign. But I just want to mention that. Go to the Facebook page for Surefire Movie. Go to surefiremovie.com and like them and support them and everything because they're awesome and really excited to see what comes out from them. So, having said that, we're going to do Potpourri.
Okay.
And for first-time listeners, Potpourri is the section of the podcast where we basically talk about anything we're watching or anything that we're looking forward to or anything that's on our minds. Basically, the catchphrase of it is anything we want as long as it smells good. And since you're the guest, why don't you bring us into Potpourri, Sam?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So, I recently rewatched Wish I Was Here.
Mm-hmm.
And
I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, so Wish I Was Here, and I'll pull this up here real quick.
It's the Zach Braff
Kickstarter movie. Yeah, it was a Zach Braff Kickstarter movie. It was in 2014. So, full disclosure here, I am a Zach Braff superfan.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Scrubs. Garden State is actually my favorite movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love Garden State. That's a movie that I rewatch probably pretty much yearly.
Oh, wow.
And I love that movie. I related to it a lot before. I think it's actually one of the most surprisingly depressing movies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Wish I Was Here was kind of the spiritual successor for Garden State.
Okay.
And it was something that when he offered a Kickstarter for it, I was happy to donate to that just to kind of be part of it and see like what he's doing, get the updates. The movie was not perfect.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it, but I didn't remember how you felt about it. But...
Yeah. I always thought Garden State, and can we talk about spoilers for Garden State?
Yeah, I think the statute of limitations is up.
I was going to say, I think we're at like 10 years?
10, maybe 12 years.
Maybe 12 years. So I thought Garden State was such an insightful movie in a way, and I know a lot of people kind of found it to be pretentious in how we discussed. Yeah, and I can see that. But what I loved about Garden State was it was kind of like this introspection of this crossroads of your life, looking at where you're at, and then trying to figure out where you want to go.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it is that at the end of the movie, he finds, okay, I want to be with this girl. She's helping me find out more about who I am. But then it was this moment of now what? And that's how the movie ends.
Sure.
I love the fact that you get this point at the end of the movie where it's what's next. And he finds out that this is the girl he wants to be with, that she gives some sort of sense of purpose of his life, kind of helps him connect things. But he realizes that this is just a small piece, that he has all these issues, and they look at each other and think, what are we supposed to do from this point? Right. And it was this open-ended of like, you think this is this moment of revelation, and instead it's a moment of, well, I'm really just beginning. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, I found that to be a really interesting kind of concept.
Nice.
So he tried to do that with Wish I Was Here as, well, this is what it looks like now when you're in your 40s.
Oh.
And in some form or fashion, it worked. Kind of the plot of the movie was that he was trying to pursue being an actor. Okay. His dad was paying for his kids' private schooling. His dad gets cancer, I believe it was, and can no longer pay for his kids' schooling. So he decides he's going to school the kids. He decides he's going school the kids to b-ball. No, he decides he's going to homeschool the kids himself. And it's a struggle of him doing that, of him trying to be a responsible parent, trying to be realistic in his career choices, his wife trying to figure out how she's supposed to deal with him because she has a real job while he's kind of doing whatever at home. And there's a lot in the movie that I found to be interesting, but it just did not connect in the way that Garden State did.
That sucks.
And I liked it. I enjoyed it for what it was. And there was some really nice moments in the movie. But overall, he just really didn't connect it like he did with Garden State.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the movie, like... It's kind of a leap. Like, okay, they can't be in private school anymore, so I'm just going to homeschool them. Is there is there a reason why they can't just go to public school, or
it's one of those?
Is it because it's public school?
It's kind of one of those like, well, I'll just do it myself, because obviously he has no background training whatsoever in doing this,
right?
So yeah, it was a little strange.
Nice.
I mean, there was some good cameos in the movie.
Okay.
Jim Parsons was in it, who. Obviously famous now for The Big Bang Theory,
right?
But he actually was in Garden State in a pretty great role,
right.
And that was one of the first things he did that I think people really actually watched.
Yeah.
So I think it was nice that he actually showed up for that movie as kind of a callback.
That's cool.
Donald Faison's in it as well, obviously his best friend. And so again, there's some fun cameos, but overall, it's something that's probably worth renting, but was it worth kickstarting for $40-some? I don't know.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's a shame. And he got a lot of flack for putting up a Kickstarter for it.
He did.
And I mean, I don't have like I don't fall on either side of it. I'm just like, okay, I don't mind. I don't like it's a tool. Utilize it. It's like it's not like people were saying like, oh well, he has all this Scrubs money. And it's like, it's a lot of work to get a movie made.
Yeah.
It's,
And to be fair to him, he put up more money, from my understanding, he put up more money for the movie than he kickstarted in total. That
makes sense, because if anything, the kickstarting would have got him a lot of publicity for it. So, I mean, awareness is better than anything, really.
And I understand. It's an interesting concept of the whole kickstarting issue. And is it right for big stars to kickstart movies? I kind of think of it as a way of, I know I'm not sharing in the profit.
Right.
I know I'm getting a T-shirt, a script, and updates, and some videos, and that sort of thing. And for me, that was good entertainment for a year.
Nice.
So I have no regrets about it. Nice. But yeah, I wish the movie was maybe a little bit better, but it wasn't terrible.
Well, that's too bad, but you sound content with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Nice.
I'm not killing myself about it.
Cool. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I'm still here.
Nice. So for Potpourri for me, kind of getting back into the swing of things and back into my routine after taking some time off for family issues and everything. Yeah. So this past week I went to the movie theater 3 times.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was really nice. So I'll just touch on briefly each movie I saw. First up, I saw 999. Are you familiar with 999?
Actually, not really.
Okay, so
I've heard of it, but that's about it.
Okay, so 999 is an ensemble cop thriller with dirty cops who do dirty cop things for the mob, basically, for the Russian Jewish mob.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
And the cast is ridiculous. It's got Chiwetel Ejiofor from 12 Years a Slave, Casey Affleck, Anthony Mackie, Woody Harrelson, Aaron Paul, Kate Winslet as a Russian Jewish crime boss.
Wow.
Gal Gadot, Norman Reedus, Teresa Palmer, Michael Kenneth Williams in a small cameo, Clifton Collins Jr., and those are really the only notable ones. But, I mean, just, it's insane. Like, all of those people could carry, like, they could be the stars of the movie. And it's basically about a group of dirty cops and ex-special forces guy who they do these heists and everything for the Russian Jewish mob. And it was not a good movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
It was really a shame. I will say that the opening scene was a bank heist that was it was incredible. It was the way it was filmed was amazing. It was there's a hiccup in the plan that is like stylistically and tension it ratcheted up the tension exponentially. And stylistically, it was just really cool to see this play out on a highway, basically. But it was a very well done sequence for the movie. Unfortunately, that's really the only standout. There's a pretty cool urban gunfight chase sequence that's well done, but also felt a little overdone a little bit. So I couldn't really enjoy it, but kind of the whole premise of the movie is that, and this is one of my big gripes about it, is the main premise of the movie is that this group of dirty cops who are they're like high ranking, like they're detectives and stuff, and it's like there's not really any time spent describing why they choose to do the things that they do, because they're career police officers. They're climbing the ranks. They're high level police, and it's like I don't understand why they would need or want to be involved in this kind of thing. And there's no explanation to it at all. Yeah. And my biggest gripe with it was that the main plot of the movie is that they have one big heist that they need to pull off. And in order to do that, they need time. So, like, the title 999 is referenced in the movie because their big plan to get the time for the heist is that they're going to murder a police officer so that all of the police would go to that scene so that they can pull off the heist. Like, that's the main plot of the movie. Wow. Which, okay. Sure. But also, like, they are really, really, really quick to come to that decision. And that's one of the problems that I had with it, was that it didn't even try to touch on the kind of brotherhood of police, basically. Which, did you ever see the show The Shield? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Did you finish it?
I didn't. I've seen. God. Yeah. Sorry.
It's fine, but it's oh my God, that is one of my top 3 favorite shows ever.
Really?
All time. Wow. Oh yeah, and one of the best final seasons and season finale or series finale I've ever seen. Okay. Definitely go back and check that out. Okay. But anyway, that show was about dirty cops that did really horrible things. But they did a great job of capturing why they were doing it. Mm-hmm. And they also did a good job of showcasing the brotherhood and what it means to be on the police force, basically. And that's something that was completely lost in 999. It felt like it was written by someone who'd never been around police in their entire life. And that bothered me so much. So so the movie was not that memorable.
Not worth seeing?
Not worth seeing in the theater. I would not recommend it. And then, let's see, the next movie I saw was The Witch. Oh, okay. Which sorry. The poster and everything, it's weird because it's written as if it's the V-Witch on the poster and everything. Yeah, so my go-to joke was, well, I haven't seen the A-Witch through the U-Witch, so I'll be lost. You're welcome. No, I absolutely loved this movie. It was phenomenal, really. It was a great, tense, creepy horror movie that didn't rely on jump scares or like cheap scares of any kind. It was all very much a tone and atmosphere based horror movie. And one of the things I really loved about it was that the writer director, I think his name is Robert Eggers. He basically was heavily influenced by The Shining. And you can see in the movie, like, there are very clear homages to Kubrick and to The Shining specifically. Like, it's amazing. It's like, there's some great scenes where it's like a static shot of something, or it's zooming into something, and you just hear like kind of an a choir of voices singing a high pitch, and it just grows as the camera zooms in. It's very reminiscent of The Shining. And what I love about it, and what I think is most impressive about that, is that it doesn't come across as, oh, he's just aping The Shining. He's just borrowing tone from Kubrick. It's like it's the way he does it is, it's done in such a way that it doesn't come across like that. It comes across as he's paying homage to something, and he's making it his own, and it's serving the story incredibly well. And another thing that's really great about it is that it's very authentic to the time. It's based in 17th century settlers, puritanic settlers, basically, who are very much, super religious.
Yeah.
And it's like around like the Salem witch trials. I think it's before it, but it's at a time where, people's faith was very much like very serious and very any hint of witch or supernatural stuff is like a death sentence.
Yeah.
So what I love about it is like it's shown pretty early on that there are forces in the movie that are, of that nature. But what's more terrifying than that, and that's pretty creepy and scary, but what's more terrifying than that is how the characters interact with each other. It's very authentic dialogue, so it's a little rough to decrypt when you're watching it.
Yeah.
But what's great about that is the character interactions and the kind of paranoia and the inherent fear and pain in the characters breeds this tension throughout every single interaction that's just phenomenal. Yeah. I absolutely loved it. So that's the Vivitch.
Okay.
And then finally, the last movie I saw was 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I watched last night.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to go on a tangent.
Go for your tangent.
Yes. So longtime listeners of the show will know that theater experiences for me, I have very clear thoughts about how I want my theater experience to go down.
Sure.
So this was a Thursday night movie, the night before like the official like release weekend of the movie, and I was able to go see it at 7:35. So I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a packed theater. I better get there early. Got there about 45 minutes or like 40 minutes early.
Yeah. Got
to my seat. Fine. There was me and there was a group of people in the back at the back row. And then people started filtering in. One guy came in. He was kind of an older guy, and he kind of it was weird. Yeah. Like at that point, it was just me and the people in the back, and he kind of made like it kind of his body language felt like he was about to ask me if he can sit in my row, and I just thought like that's kind of weird because the entire theater's empty. But fortunately, he sat across the aisle from me, and then I noticed like through the like pre-movie like trivia or behind the scenes things that they show before the trailers, he kept reacting to them very audibly. So like he's like, yeah. So he was like, oh, and it was like I'm like, okay, cool. And I kept my eyes facing forward. I was like, maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's reacting to something on the phone. Maybe it's not
he didn't
weird.
know that Matthew Perry was on Friends.
Right. So he basically went. So eventually a lady came and sat next to him. So apparently they were together. And I noticed like as the movie's starting, they're whispering quite a bit.
That's the worst.
Oh, the worst is that it wasn't even constructive. It was like the Bad Robot logo came up. As soon as he saw Bad Robot, he's like, oh, Bad Robot. Then when it came up in the pre-credits, like in the opening credits where it said a Bad Robot production, he said it again. He said Bad Robot again.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And then the worst thing in the world happened. Because about 2 minutes in, they're still whispering. I'm in another row across the aisle, but I can still hear them, and it's still bugging me a little bit. Then I notice out of my peripheral vision, within the first 2 minutes of the movie, they stand up. And I'm like, okay. I'm not kidding at all. They sit almost directly behind me. Like, it's...
Why would you do that?
Right? Like the seat wasn't directly behind me, but it was like the seat next to the seat directly behind me that they sat down in. So for the first 10 minutes of the movie, all I hear is, oh, I think that's gonna come into play later. Oh yeah, she's got that. Yep. That's what this is.
Wow.
The whole time. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I'm not a confrontational person, so I didn't want to turn around and be like, hey, shut the up, because I'm trying to enjoy a goddamn movie. But also another reason why I didn't want to do that, because I almost did that. I almost like politely said, like, hey, could you not do that? Because people can hear you and we're trying to enjoy the movie. But I also didn't want to bring more noise into the theater to disrupt the movie theater experience for everyone, because I'm a respectful human being.
Right.
I really hope they're not listeners to the podcast. Maybe I do hope.
Yeah.
So then about 5-10 minutes into it, I'm noticing this is not stopping. This is a thing. And I'm like, maybe, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can let it go. Maybe I can just, maybe, you know, it's the same as, you know, being in, like being in the gym or something and watching something on my tablet, or being in an area and like on a plane or something and watching it on the tablet, because, you know, there's background noise. I can phase it out. Nope.
No. I can't.
Yeah. And then they kept, like, at one point he was like he put a theory out there to his companion saying, like, oh, I think that's something that's going to happen at the end or something. And I'm like, nope, I don't need these thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking around, and I look up, and like in the back there's like one row that's empty, and like in that row it's like a smaller theater, so it's like in that row there's only 2 seats. But the problem is that the guy sitting behind it had his leg up on the seat, so I'm like, crap. So my only real option is to go sit in like the second row, like the second or third row, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
No.
So about 15 minutes pass, I look up, the guy has his foot down, I stand up and I bolt up there. And I enjoy the rest of the movie while still hearing murmuring, but not being able to figure out what dumbass things they were saying.
Right.
Yeah, and I just hated that so much. I was so angry. Or I wasn't angry, I was just irritated by it. But yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane was amazing, though. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm a huge, huge fan of Cloverfield.
Yeah.
But there's not, when they say that it's a blood relative of Cloverfield, I mean, there's not really any connection to Cloverfield.
Okay.
And even if you kind of try to fit it into the world of Cloverfield or the timeline even, it brings more questions to your mind than you should have for the movie. But still, it feels like a short, shy of 2 hour long episode of The Twilight Zone.
Interesting.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I really need to do Anthology, my solo side project podcast, that I haven't done since September.
Oh wow, it's been a bit.
It's been a bit. Yeah. At some point I will, I promise. But yeah. Anyway, so the movie has some really great moments. There's one in particular that it's a scene. It's a scene. I won't say what it is, but it's a scene in which the 3 characters are doing something, and the writing of it and the situation of it and the context of everyone's mindset in that sequence, in that part of the movie, is like, that's the point where the movie's firing on every cylinder. It's amazing. It's like the context of the scene and what happens in the scene is so layered. It made me laugh because it was just genuinely funny. It was a great combination of funny, terrifying, and just really unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's just like that perfect blend was like, that was unbelievable. It was really cool the way that they handled that. And then the movie goes some places that are very interesting. And it really held my attention, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Good. So I guess as somebody who's seen Cloverfield, I probably will see 10 Cloverfield Lane. So are you saying there's really not that much of a connection between the 2 movies?
There is a somewhat of a connection. Like you'll get enjoyment out of it regardless, but being a Cloverfield fan, you'll get more enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
That's as much as I'll say. I won't say specifically.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like TJ Miller pops up with a camcorder and is like, "Hey, let's go party."
Right.
But it is tonally really, really cool the way that they kind of make you think about Cloverfield in a certain way, I guess. Yeah. And also at some point, I think I was going to be a guest on Film Flubs podcast, but that kind of fell apart this week. I think I might be on there soon, so I'll let you guys know when I'll be on to review that. But yeah, check out that podcast. It's great. So yes, I think that does it for the rest of my potpourri. Did you have anything else you want to throw out? Or
yeah, I was actually going to mention one thing. So as a I was going to say a new father. I don't think I'm a new father if I have an 18-month-old.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe. So movies kind of fall off a cliff a little bit for me sometimes, but TV shows is usually what I kind of find time for. So I've always been a fan of the show New Girl.
Sure.
And I don't know, have you ever watched New Girl?
I've watched like 3 or 4 seasons worth.
Oh, so you've watched a decent amount.
Yeah, I will say the last episode I saw was, I think, the last episode of season 3 with the cruise.
Yeah.
If you remember, I remember thinking that episode alone was really good. It could have been a really good setup for a complete rom-com feature film.
Right.
And I'm whenever a sitcom does that, like gets that response out of me, I instantly love it. So I like New Girl.
Yeah, it's a good show. It kind of fell off a cliff a little bit, and I guess it was the last season where they had a whole big romantic will they won't they with Jess and Nick. That lost me a little bit, but they brought on Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans Jr.?
Yeah, as coach. That was really a strong move. But this season just started out with a really bad feeling.
I remember you mentioning that it was weird.
I checked because I thought maybe a showrunner changed or there's something that happened on the back end because it just didn't feel right.
Okay. And
I think what it really was is that the character of Jess is just getting very old.
Really?
Yeah. Zooey Deschanel, she's adorkable.
Right.
But it gets old, and they've kind of made her almost a caricature of herself. So what was interesting is, I guess, before the season aired, they announced that she was going to miss some episodes because she was pregnant.
Right.
And that Megan Fox would be filling in.
Right.
And when I heard that, my first thought was, Megan Fox. With all the funny, women out there, you picked Megan Fox.
Right.
So it was I was nervous. Even though the season wasn't going well, I was nervous for that moment where Megan Fox showed up.
Sure.
And she has been brilliant on that show.
Really?
Yeah, she's been excellent. And Megan Fox is playing Megan Fox. So she's playing a very sarcastic, dead character.
Okay.
Not dead. That's a weird way to put
dead
it.
Dead inside.
Yeah, dead inside.
Sure.
Yeah. Zombie. No, but a very deadpan character.
Deadpan. Okay,
yeah,
there
we go. I
thought you were saying that she just had no life in her.
Right, yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, a very deadpan character. So, I mean, it was something for her that probably was not very challenging.
Sure.
But it really worked.
Nice.
And it was nice to see a character on that show that had a different kind of issue. All the characters have their own little malfunctions that make them who they are. But hers was a little bit more subtle.
Okay.
So it was really enjoyable. It had a new dynamic in the cast. It made the show feel kind of new. And then just this past week, Zooey Deschanel came back. And I couldn't believe it, but my thought was, I miss Megan Fox. And I never would have thought I would have said that. Yeah.
That's a shame.
It's a show worth watching. I mean, it's consistently a good comedy when I feel like comedies on at least network TV are really lacking at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is another one that I think holds the bar decently high. But I thought it was worth mentioning. Megan Fox actually can do more than just action movies every once in a while.
Would you like to see, if there was a sitcom that came out starring Megan Fox, a Megan Fox sitcom vehicle that came out, would that make you more interested in seeing it based solely on that?
Maybe so.
Nice.
And that's the thing is, before I've always just thought of her as somebody who I think of her as somebody. She's in the Transformer movies. Mm-hmm. She's in the Ninja Turtle movies, and no disrespect to the Ninja Turtle movies,
right?
Because I do mean some disrespect to the Transformer movies. But my point is that she's not somebody that would ever think, "Oh, Megan Fox is in this. I'm going to go watch it."
Right.
But now, if I saw, "Oh, Megan Fox is in a new TV show, and maybe it has a comedy element to it,"
mm-hmm.
I would be far more tempted to check it out now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had kind of a somewhat similar reaction to seeing Alicia Cuthbert in the show Happy Endings, which also had Damon Wayans Jr. Short-lived show. It's on Netflix now. It only ran for 3 seasons. But, man, it's such a funny show. Definitely check it out on Hulu. But anyway, seeing Alicia Cuthbert in a comedy made me really interested in seeing her in other like sitcoms.
Yeah.
Because really my only context for her or frame of reference for her was 24, which is kind of a serious action thriller. And they didn't write for her character that well at all in that show. So she kind of got a short shrift in that show. Yeah. But seeing her in a sitcom, like it really helped me. Or really made me want to see her in more comedies. And here at the end of the month on Netflix, there's going to be the new show with Ashton Kutcher, the new sitcom with Ashton Kutcher, Sam Elliott, I think, and Danny Masterson called The Ranch. Yeah. It's basically, I just saw a trailer for it today, I think, or yesterday. It's basically just a sitcom where Ashton Kutcher moves back to his dad's ranch to help him run the ranch or whatever, and Alicia Cuthbert's in it as well. So that seeing Alicia Cuthbert in the trailer made me want to see it a little bit more than the trailer really had any hope to make me feel that way.
Well, if you ever want to see more of her, you could always watch The Girl Next Door.
That's true. Yes,
it was fine.
Nice. I never saw it. I kind of need to see. So.
Yeah, it's
not good.
It's all right.
Okay, good. All right, well, I think that about does it. And holy crap, I kind of completely forgot to mention this at the top of the episode, but you are one of the contributors to Obsessive Book Nerd.
That's right. Yeah, yes. I am. It's been kind of a depressingly long amount of time since I've written something for it.
It has been for me too. But
yeah. But I think I looked the other day that I had written like 30 different reviews or articles for it. So I will get back to it. I promise. Right. I still read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten how.
I really want to go through the Dark Tower series again before the movie comes out. Before the first movie comes out of it, that I can't believe it's actually happening.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty exciting.
So exciting. But, so you can find Sam's work on obsessivebooknerd.com. And do you want to give, like, your Twitter handle and stuff? Do you want to keep that private?
No, I will give my Twitter handle. So the depressing thing is I'm actually pulling it up right now because I really don't know it off the top of my head. But it's at Sam Nelson OBN.
Nice.
So, feel free to hit me up on that. I'm usually, especially for the next couple of weeks, I'll be very bored at work. So please hit me up.
Nice.
I would love to talk to you.
Nice. In between coming down and visiting me at my desk.
Yeah. There's a good chance that if you tweet something at me, I'm probably standing next to Matt. So.
Yes. So
you're talking to both of us.
Nice. So so thanks for coming on and talking Fuller House and everything. It's been a blast.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yes, it has been fun. And that's about it. Next week, the scheduling for the podcast is a little out of whack now. So if I remember correctly, I think next week we might be having an extended potpourri or something. I don't know. And I think Mike is going to come back in the next week or two for kind of a special episode. So look out for that. And other than that, thanks for listening, guys. And see you next time. We don't have to sign off. It's the worst. Thanks for listening, guys.
And I love that because it was we'll go back maybe right there.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. So I love that because it really showed.
I'm so confused about what's going on. Because it's not like you're dead stopping at it. I don't know what.
No. So should I just do that whole piece again?
No. You can do it again.
Yeah.
At the end where you said.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com, or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow us on Twitter at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.